Hey everyone, Phreak here. Welcome to my patch 10.2 rundown. The patch is coming. It's going to be week 2 of the LCS and LEC. LPL's off for a while. LCK I'm not sure about. Either way, it hits solo queue about the time you're going to by about the time you're going to watch this video. It's probably already live for some of you. Anyway, 10.2 is relatively small. Not a whole lot to say. I think there's some good follow-up, and there's some, you could argue, missing follow-up, but I think it's overall a patch that's going in a positive direction. I wouldn't have mind seeing more, but I do want to point out that it was basically impossible for this patch to have reacted to pro play. Right? The LPL started playing about a week ago, and by that point in time, the patch is basically already locked. I would expect 10.3 to have some LPL reaction, and there should be enough time for 10.3 to have some last-minute LEC and LCS reaction. Probably LCK as well. Again, I'm not certain on that schedule right now. Either way, 10.2 is, again, steps in the right direction. So let's talk about it. A bunch of skins are coming out. That's pretty sweet. Cool, cool. Aphelios nerfs. Of course there's Aphelios nerfs. Okay, so what's going on? Well, Aphelios is definitely overperforming. And I do want to point something out, by the way, is Aphelios is specifically overperforming in the early game. One thing to point out about Aphelios is that even though his base health, base armor, base MR are very, 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 very low, he doesn't really have abilities that scale beyond the first 9 levels, right? Every Q active is maxed out by level 9. I mean, for the most part, they scale with character level like you're maxing Q, and then they're just done. It has two things that are interesting. One is you get rank 2 of your Q at level 3 when a regular champion would put rank 1 of their E on. So there's actually some, like, you know, a sort of bonus level scaling there. The other is that the ability that everyone maxes first that they can actually put points into is flat attack damage, which gets capped out reasonably early on as well, first 11 levels basically. So he has a lot of systems that essentially push his early game really strongly. Aphelios seems to be a very good early game bully who more or less falls off as time goes on, or at least takes over games less. He's very front-loaded, though. He's kind of like the Jace of bottom lane, more so than almost anyone else. That's what I've seen so far watching him in pro play. Watching the really high-level players play him. So now his level 1 and 2 are still absurdly good, but they are doing what I think are good changes to really affect the super early game, which is Calibrum, right? It is one of his 2 starting guns. He gets Calibrum really early on. He also gets it again much later on because it's essentially the 6th gun in the queue. He goes through the entire set and goes to the Scythe Pistol first, then to Calibrum. So it's very, very early, and then the last gun he gets. What this means is his early game numbers are really easy to affect here. So right away, bam, 5 damage off. Cooldown up by 1 full second in the early game, and then the scaling is down. The late game scaling is down by quite a bit. So such as early lane, and then it touches like the level 9 power spike. Right when he gets the gun again, he's going to be around like level 5-ish, maybe a little bit later. So it kind of comes in waves. Like you're almost. I mean, I think you're using this very rarely. Right, the like rank 2 where you're level 3 because you're about to toss the gun away at that point in a lot of cases. Anyway, I'm spending a lot of time on something very, very small. Ultimately, they are nerfing the late game of the queue, a little bit of touch of the early game of the queue, of the sniper rifle. They are nerfing the damage amp beyond 1 bonus chakram, the actual way to pronounce that word. Honestly, it's pretty hard to get a lot of chakrams, but they are nerfing the end game of that. And then the Severum Scythe Pistol damage on hit is a 0.05 attack damage ratio. That's it. It's really small. But again, want to point out that even though there's a bunch of bonus AD ratios, the kit comes with 24 bonus AD just by existing because you always max that stat first. Okay, so bam, here's a bunch of bright light. Everyone got blinded. Congratulations. The sight is a lot darker. This is a lot brighter. So here's what it actually means for the Q damage, right? Here is the mark damage before and after. Again, keep in mind that as you max Q first, you just get some simple base damage added, right? 15 base damage is really 20 base damage because of the free stuff here. The actual mark does, well, okay, about 5 less damage in the early game and about 28 less damage in the end game. Okay, this is, I mean, actually somewhat meaningful. But let's, you know, and then the cooldown goes down as well, right? 1 second longer, up to 2 seconds longer. Okay, you know, starts to feel a little meaningful. This is actually doing something to the abilities. Okay, you know, the sniper is clearly weaker as a poke tool. I mean, certainly this base 6-second cooldown with an Essence Reaver is going down to like 4.5-ish. Yeah, you know, really short cooldown, right? Dropping this instead to 6 is, you know, a bit more fair, let's be clear. Overall, though, I want to point out how little this actually matters, because the only way you get this mark damage is by landing your Q, or by having like a Chakram turret, or using Infernum active or whatever else that applies your offhand when the sniper's there, and then doing it that way. But if you're using Sniper Q, here's the damage difference. It's not a lot. Right? 6 damage when, oh yeah, by the way, level 1 sniper Q, well, I guess level 2 sniper Q because you don't have your Q at level 1, 146 damage. That's landing the skill shot into getting the automatic, like, offhand attack at infinite range plus mark, 146 damage. At level 3, 185. I mean, that's 175. But, like, tell me a champion that does this much damage at level 3. And that's where the damage comes from, right? And it's why I think it's smart that they indeed nerfed this, right? Now, I could have easily seen this be, you know, 10, 15, 20, or even 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 as the numbers. Because, like, the actual level 1, level 2 landing phase is really good. Again, Aphelios' win rate curve is very much that of a lane bully. He forces a lot of 15-minute surrenders or 20-minute surrenders because he has that much power super early game. So spending a lot of time on this, but, you know, kind of bears talking about. And again, I want to reiterate that even though this is technically a scaling nerf, right, this is levels 1 through 9, right? You get the full 25 damage off by level 9. That is early. So you know, you get, you know, beyond level 5 at 15 minutes, right? So though it's not the literal level 1 or 2 trades going down by that much, you are still seeing, you know, a respectable-ish, you know, 30-something damage, 27, 30, you know, damage off of that. That's actually meaningful, right? 10% nerf roughly to the spell. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable, right? 0.3 becoming 0.2, right? That's a 1/3 nerf off the bonus AD ratio. And this is a guy who builds Essence Reaver IE. Like, he's going to have 200 bonus AD in most of his builds. Like, that's not trivial. That does matter, right? So that's going to be felt. That does matter. This hurts him a fair bit. Crescendum damage, right? So here's Severum damage first, right? This is specifically this 10 to 30 becomes 10 to 30 with a slightly lower AD ratio. Again, you don't see it by a lot, right? It's 0.2. It's not a ton. But, you know, that's the Q damage. He damage is going down a little bit with the unhit. Again, this specifically nerfs his scaling, right? The ratios are being hurt more than the base damages in these cases. The Severum, or sorry, the Crescendum changes very similar, right? It's percent of his total damage. So they are nerfing the Q early game a fair bit. Like, again, you're going to feel this pretty early on in the game. But the other ones that they're really nerfing is basically his sort of short range anti-bruiser, you know, doing 3x damage doesn't really exist anymore, right? So instead of this being level, by the way, this is number of mini chakrams. And yeah, you're going to feel the actual damage dealt going down if you can really super stack it. So this is somewhat meaningful. Like I said, somewhat meaningful. The one that really matters is this. This is where the meat of the nerf is, and it matters. Next up is Draven. So this is interesting, right? So Draven is getting a higher AD ratio on rank 2 and 3 of the ultimate. So essentially, his late game spell casting is better, which is fine. I think it's good for, you know, a Draven to have more that he can do than just simply auto-type people. What I find interesting is Draven is a sub 50% win rate bot laner. And he's sub 50 because players are bad. So I did some very cursory research into Draven and Draven builds. And about 80%, not 80%, let's 75%, you know, 3/4 of Draven players are rushing Bloodthirster. That is wrong. Bloodthirster Rush is like a 49% win rate first item. I want you to guess what the win rate of Infinity Edge first or Stormrazor first is. Either one. It's like 53%. There's a 4% additive win rate difference if you simply go one of the crit items first. He goes from a 49% champion to a 53% champion. And this is, you know, these are all accounted for in terms of like, yes, the item indeed comes in a little bit later because the item's more expensive. It's like, suck it up. Don't rush BT. Don't buy a shield that scales with character level. Get that item later. Buy some actual damage. Like, I don't know, maybe the Storm Rays are slow, so you get your second auto attack off. Like, there is an absurd amount of bonus damage available. And sure, you can say, but Phreak, there's biases. If you're losing the early lane, you might just go Bloodthirst so you can survive. It's like, dog, this is Draven. How often are you losing your early lane? Where you lose because you're getting out-traded, thus need lifesteal. No. Build real items. Crit damage is awesome. Critting is awesome. Go build the right items. Just build the right items. Draven should actually be considered overpowered. Buy the right items. For little change to Jinx. Jinx now gets excited off of Dragon and Baron kills. If her team kills them and she's hurting them. Okay. It's not going to mean a whole lot, but cool. I think it's exciting and fun. 10 damage on Karma Q. 10 damage on both halves of Karma W. This is pretty meaningful, right? So here's Karma Q doing 90 to 270. Here's new Karma W doing 80 to 280. Want to point out, these base damages are very, very similar. Worth noting. Also, by the way, that if you're support Karma, you're obviously maxing W last. If you are support Karma, you should really be doing 2 points Q into max shield in most cases. But if you're solo lane Karma, you love these. Now, I will say that if you're playing top tank Karma, there's a chance you're putting points in W. I don't actually know what top tank's Karma skill order is, but it might have W max in it. Mid Karma tends to max Q into maxing E because she wants to be a support in the mid game. I mean, regardless, it's 10 flat damage in all cases. Theoretically, this affects both sides equally. But I do want to point out that mid Karma cares, and top Karma cares more about their wave clear speed than support Karma does. I mean, support Karma cares about poke, absolutely. And if they really wanted to kill mid Karma and make support Karma good, they would give Q a like reduced damage to minions, right? And if they want to make jungle Karma good, they give it bonus damage to monsters. Like, there's very easy levers here that Riot already uses. They could simply add to like really force her into one role. They're clearly not trying to do that very much, though it could be done. Ultimately, yeah, definitely helps her lane building in both cases. In general, I still believe this is the kind of thing that helps solo lane Karma more. I'm not against that, but I tend to feel that games do not look very exciting when you've got solo lane Karma. It doesn't tend to produce exciting games. So, you know, wouldn't mind seeing her be support only. Next up is Lulu. I am simultaneously very happy that they are rounding up base stats, a nice clean 29 armor, a nice clean 47 attack damage. Thank you very much. I love it. I appreciate you, whoever did this. But also this means basically nothing, right? Like 0.6 attack damage doesn't matter. 0.8 armor doesn't matter. You know, balance-wise, this could not have changed, but I am glad that the numbers are around. So thank you for that. As far as 2 seconds off the E cooldown, definitely meaningful. Definitely matters. Cool stuff there. This is a meaningful buff to Lulu. I think E's cost is reasonably high, so it can be hard for support Lulu to spend this ability a lot. But it, you know, there's more mana regen on support items now as of the last patch. Lulu technically has an incredibly high mid lane win rate, but this is like the duo boosting Master Yi jungle funnel stuff. So like mid Taric and mid Lulu have really fraudulent win rates. Where like they actually just don't count because they're not being picked for the same reasons that other champions are. So you really have to throw that out the window. Yeah, support Lulu, as far as I can tell, could use the help. This is going to be kind of nice. It's not a huge boost in power, but it's noticeable. It's a nice small buff. Nautilus Q. Nautilus was I think number 1. I think it's the number 1 support in pro play right now. Most builds in solo Q max Q first, although that's not every single Nautilus. With the rank up on Q going down by getting an extra, by getting 5 less damage per rank, there's a chance we see less Q max and more E or W max, which are kind of competing for that spot. I'm down to see any of those builds be viable. I think it's really close to Nautilus anyway. But overall, yeah, losing 10 to 30 damage on Q certainly is meaningful. And here's the data table. It's about 12% off. Okay, cool stuff. Next up is a nerf aimed at making Qiyana less of a jungler. Qiyana right now, her pro pick rate is almost 100%, well, her pick and ban rate almost 100%, and she's played almost exclusively as a jungler. She's the most highly prized jungler, so if you can get her, you might as well throw her in the jungle and, just allow that to happen. Leave her as a theoretical flex pick, but you don't really see her in solos. I like this kind of change, right? I like the kind of change that says, hey, look, let's grab a lever and pull it to push Qiyana out of flex pick. And this is the interesting thing about pro play, is pro play, of course, disproportionately loves flex picks, because in solo queue, we don't really play the draft very much. You just kind of pick the champion you want to play and YOLO it. Except for top laners, they're very sad about counter pick. Pro play really, really, really cares about draft order. And so while on the one hand, it's nice to get to play champs in multiple roles, and that can be really rewarding in solo queue and fun for you as a player at home, it means that they have to sit at like a 46% win rate and still be 100% pick ban in pro play. And so you can strip very little objective power off the champion, while still actually trying to remove them from one of the roles. This tends to be a good thing. It's why I talked about Karma earlier, right? Where it's like getting to flex Karma is a pro-only thing. No one drafts Karma early on that says, haha, we're baiting the Nautilus pick. Just kidding. She's like, no one does that in solo queue. Absolutely no one, right? But SKT will. So, it sucks to see, but the whole like flex pick thing has been run into the ground. I don't think it's very exciting anymore. And it's ruining champion power levels, because making them viable multiple roles means they have to be bad in both roles to be balanced in pro. That's my ultimate opinion, because that's what we're seeing right now. If pros stop flexing champions for some reason, like if you had to declare the role it's picked in when you draft the champion, you could do this. But, that adds an extra, quirk to drafting that is hard to get around when, you have a top laner / mid laner and you should be allowed to lane swap them. That gets hairy really quickly. Let's not dive into that too much. It's a really big can of worms. But essentially what they're trying to do is push Qiyana out of the jungle by reducing her attack speed by 15%. Qiyana jungle, of course, learns W at level 1, and 20% bonus attack speed is a lot of bonus attack speed. It turns out Qiyana really likes to auto-attack the jungle monsters. So here is Qiyana's attack speed after and before the changes. You max W last, of course. Maybe that changes with the rank up, but in the current version of Qiyana, you max it last. It technically allows her to crust 1 attack per second in the late game, which doesn't matter in all cases. This is very clearly a nerf to Qiyana, but it is a bigger nerf to jungle Qiyana, who attacks a lot more often. So there's the nerf. 12% for the vast majority of the game. Her attack speed growth, not all that high overall. This is where she's at. This is what 5% instead of 20% attack speed looks like. It's pretty meaningful. So there you go. That is the difference to Qiyana. Again, gets closer by a very, very end game. Maybe W second becomes a thing somehow. That's certainly a possibility. I doubt W first becomes a thing in the jungle. That seems really, really unlikely. This will hurt her jungle clear by a lot. Again, 12% less auto attacks. Really, really, really meaningful. Probably kills jungle Qiyana. I'm sorry, jungle Qiyana mains. Pro play has slayed her. Big buff to Sona. Sona's an interesting champion. I actually like this kind of change. So Sona is continually way too high win rate in solo queue, not good enough in pro play. I like seeing changes that somewhat bridge that gap. Out of combat move speed, or just sort of roaming move speed in general, tends to be more pro focused. So this is, I think, a cool change for Sona. Instead of 10 to 14, and you max this ability last, self movement speed, it's just a flat 25%. Here's the table. It's 14% move speed for essentially the entire game. Level 14 Sona doesn't exist in League of Legends, basically ever. Shorty scales really well anyway, because she has, AoE shielding and really, really strong stuff. But, here's move speed before and after. This is before boots, of course. Yeah, it's a lot of speed. A lot of speed. She's probably faster than Janna with her E. This is a very, very quick champion. Really gets around the map. It's not like her ganks are great. She runs over and heals you for 95 health and walks away. It's, not the most absurd stuff. But, she can go back to ward. She can get back to the lane. She will certainly outrun her support now without problems. But you can run things like free boots and not feel the pain in map mobility, which can be nice. That said, you probably still want to run Robies plus this and get around the map really, really fast, right? Imagine adding, kind of 125 move speed to this. Now that's before soft cap, but, a lot of move speed, right? She's real quick. She's going to roam a whole lot better. This is going to be noticed. It's going to be noticed more in pro play. But this is not the kind of change I expect to see pros look at and say, let's practice her in solo queue. So it's going to take a lot more to get pros to look at that. but there's a chance she takes over like Master Tier into Grandmaster Tier into Challenger Tier solo queue, and then pros try. But it'll be a long time coming. It'll take a while. New VFX for Thresh, awesome, cool stuff. Additional changes, great. Trundle gets 10 more move speed on his W and 5% more slow on the E. Here's Trundle's move speed, it's 8% higher. W's maxed second. Trundle, when he was seen in Pro, maxed E first. When they just destroyed his slow and put it down to 15%, it ruined his early ganking. Right now in the metagame, pros really only care about rushing to level 3, they're getting a gank off. 50% slow on a pillar, obviously not good enough for that. 20% slow on a pillar, probably still not good enough for that. If you were to actually max the pillar, you get 6% slow pretty early. That's actually quite good. You know, maybe the slow is almost good enough to make this happen. This seems unlikely, but hey, who knows? Moderate, just, you know, here's 10% more move speed, here's 5% more slow, right? That's what it's really going to be. They're going to still max W second and max E last in almost all cases. I don't expect this to change. But it's a, you know, nominal 1.5% win rate bump to Trundle, which, you know, doesn't suck. Trundle does have the problem of having to go Tiamat to clear the jungle fast. In general, clearing the jungle fast is rewarded in this current patch, this current season. Trundle does not that particularly well. This is move speed, not attack speed. It's not like his clear speed went any better. So, you know, he's fine. I think he's actually fine in solo queue. I think he's an okay champion. But here you go. Some more power. Bug fix on Viktor, mana on the passive. Thank you very much. Thank you. Broken for about 3 patches. I'm glad it's back. Ziggs, definitely slightly underperforming. Ziggs is the kind of champion who tends to have a high win rate in solo queue. Despite not really ever being seen in pro. Ziggs is like barely hitting 50% solo queue, so does have room to be buffed, and so they're doing that. 10 damage on the Q, some max satchel knockback distance on enemies, and 10% more slow on the E. I'm not doing the math on the W. It's very easy to compare 500 to 400, but the actual 10%, 10 flat damage on the Q, pretty meaningful, right? Means, of course, a lot in the early game. For my times playing Ziggs, this can really, really matter. Getting a wave clear breakpoint of one-shotting caster minions, that was sometimes hard to hit. So it's not just 10 more PvP damage. There's going to be, you know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes in the game where you're now one-shotting caster minions that you weren't before. That will have an impact here as well. That's generally covered anytime you have an AoE buff. Like, that will also happen for someone like Viktor or Qiyana or whatever. It's not unique to Ziggs, but this will be felt. This will feel nice. 10% for move speed reduction on the slow field is certainly nice as well. You're seeing 12 to 17% less move speed on the champions you hit. That will also be felt. You'll continue to max E second, and you'll be rewarded for it, right? A buff like this, and same for the Trundle pillar, rewards maxing it, right? You know, dropping someone from 80% to 90% slow halves their move speed. That is a gigantic buff. Very few things get half again as good, actually twice as good, to be honest. So this is the kind of thing that you'll really feel in the mid to late game. As you get maxed on this minefield, you will really, really feel the slow. It will do a lot to people. You'll land your Q more reliably. That's going to increase damage indirectly. It's nice. You can probably see good 1.5%, 2% win rate on Ziggs here. Cloak of Agility going back down 20% crit on the cloak itself. I have seen Yasuo players be sad about this. Keep in mind, I don't think Yasuo was nerfed when the cloak went to 25. So he's just back to the state he was. Whatever. I mean, it's not like Yasuo was bad. I don't know. I understand it feels good to get this and it feels bad to get it taken away, but it's not like you're any worse off. You know, and I like playing Yasuo. Yasuo's a cool champ. I like him, but like, I don't know. There's a bit more outcry than there needs to be, I feel like. Whatever. Anyway, yeah. I am glad this removes the like 4 Cloak of Agility builds, or IE and the 3 Cloak of Agility builds. Yeah, I'm sorry, you also have to finish second item, but like, too bad, build real items. Like, this item is already absurdly efficient for you. Finish your IE. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I do have the math on this, by the way. Or not for this, actually. I don't know. It's the item is fine. Ultimately, the item is fine. I also, honestly, yes, I know it can kind of feel weird to like, I have 95% crit chance. It's like, oh, well, finish your zeal or whatever, right? And this is, you know, as an AD carry player myself, like, I love max crit builds, right? I love going IE, Storm Razor, Essence Reaver, and then like rapid fire cannon to close it out. It's like, yeah, go finish your zeal. There's actually, by the way, I think it's a good change because Zeal was never worth buying in really any case because you were paying a bit too much for the move speed. In general, that's how I felt. Hey, now there's a reason to buy Zeal. It's got 5% crit on it. Cool, that item's slightly better. That's kind of a good thing. I don't know. As a crit user myself, I think this is fine. 10 armor on Frozen Heart and 5 damage off Storm Razor. Here's the Frozen Heart data table. Here's the comparison. It was absurdly efficient. It is more absurdly efficient. Of course, yes, you're spending 500 gold on mana. This is now basically accounted for. You're paying now just for armor and CDR. The mana is basically free, so is the aura. Frozen Heart is very, 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 very efficient. Now, it's certainly possible that armor compared to health is still not costed appropriately, but this should turn heads. This is very, very efficient. If you have mana constraints at all, and we're not even counting the attack speed aura, this item is very good. Very, very good. Truly consider buying this item. I could see Leona rushing this item. Right now in Pro, Leona's rush Stoneplate, but imagine getting 20 CDR on your solo queue Leona and having like a sub-minute cooldown ulti. That sounds great. Consider this. Especially for supports who get free health, right? Through their Targons and stuff. Really consider this. Next up is Storm Razor, which honestly, could use the nerf. Do want to point out you can actually math out energized damage with using Kerchai's Shard. It's about 4.8 gold per point of, or about 4 gold rather, per point of damage of energize. That's what Kerchai's Shard costs you. So you actually get 500 gold worth of energize when you buy Storm Razor. And Storm Razor is already, I mean, in the normal stats, attack damage, attack speed, crit strike, which, totally valuable stats. Pretty close to gold efficient. I mean, with this, this is what, 3,600 gold worth of stats. Now, you might not really think Energize is worth 4 gold per point, but keep in mind, attack damage is 35 gold per point. So if Energize is worth 1/10 of an auto attack damage, yes, I know raw AD influences your spells. Yes, raw AD can crit. Yes, raw AD works on literally every attack, but this seems like a fair cost. Honestly, this seems like a fair cost. About 1/10 as much as an attack damage. Yeah, okay, fine, 15% of what an attack damage costs. Yeah, So this item is still, right? It's still the best first item in the game for basically every champion who uses attack damage. Yeah, Storm Razor is great. And then it also slows, which is not bad. This item is still awesome. Go Storm Razor. This item is super, super good. Rift Herald is now more durable. The PvE Rift Herald is more durable, so they're again trying to say, hey, what about spending some time towards top lane? What about using top lane priority to get the Herald to knock down some plates, whether they're top or mid? You can snowball your top lane advantage into mid lane advantage or further your top lane advantage. Okay, well, Rift Herald is squishier. And even though they say the flat health went down by 750, they changed this as well. So here's the health. It's 14% lower. That's meaningful, right? That's 14% less time spent for this. I believe popping the eye is percent health true damage. I could be wrong on that, but I think it is. So that's agnostic to the rest of this. So you just keep dropping the health down and, yeah, it's 14% less health, which is quite nice. You have to do less total physical damage to kill this thing. More reason to, hey, think about that top lane stuff. Because keep in mind, right, the first two elemental drakes are weaker now, right? The one that spawns at 5, the one that spawns at 10 or whatever, have a lot less health than the other ones. They're very easy to solo, very easy for the jungler to say, yeah, I'm just gonna go take this elemental drake. More reason to say, hey, what about Rift Herald? What about Rift Herald? I like this. I think it's a cool change. Let's get in there. Let's care a little bit less about bot lane. All right, let's do it. Bug fixes, the big ones that matter, are Caitlyn getting to do a bunch of BS while stunned and getting to shoot headshots anyway. Or to machine gun spells out by getting multiple versions of your debuffs on them. So I'm glad to see this change because this felt like BS to me. Caitlyn should definitely have to actually use her auto attacks correctly. And I say this as someone who doesn't have the mana to cast her spells. Braum can't kill himself with Elder Dragon E. We've seen this happen, although apparently correctly, with Urgot ulti. This is apparently an intended interaction with Urgold Ultimate, so whatever. All right. A bunch of other small things. Silas being able to, like, getting some mistakes with his W, getting some OP stuff with his E2 into Q. A bunch of more stuff going on here. In general, whatever. Always good to see bug fixes. That's the patch. Reasonably short rundown. No T-Auto this time. I mean, it's really just like the champs who deserve to get nerfed got nerfed. Champs who probably deserve some buffs got buffs. Sona is probably could use a little bit of help. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure above 50% in solo queue, but Nami and Taric are way higher, so it's fine. Overall, generally like the patch. Definitely more to be done to balance out the game, but I don't think the game's in too bad of state. I think it's going to be really fun to watch. LCS starts this weekend. Academy starts before that. LOR starts on Thursday. Whole bunch of hype happening soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.